Hello again, my dudes, welcome back to the channel. This is Kadima bringing you another Elden Ring DLC build video. This time we're going to be using a weapon that we've used in a previous video, the Black Steel Great Hammer. But the focus of this build is going to be to try to use the guard mechanic, so the guard counter mechanic to be precise. It's not a very easy to use mechanic, especially in PvP. In PvE, it's extremely easy. You just wait for an enemy to attack you, while you are blocking. As soon as they hit you, you go for the R2, and voila. It's as simple as that. But for the PvP, of course, people are not AI bots from the game. They will eventually dodge if they don't continuously attack. And also, is a chance that if they attack you more than once, if you do the guard counter on the first hit, the second hit when you are about to counter will probably interrupt you. So you never know when this mechanic is actually going to be working for you in PvP. Nonetheless, I wanted to make a video using this mechanic. Although I used this weapon before, I didn't really go for the specific mechanic, and this is the best weapon to go for that mechanic because it's got a special animation for guard counters. Now, to boost our damage a little bit further, I went with a Sacred Infusion and with the Sacred Blade because it leaves a buff on the weapon that does scale our holy damage of the weapon. The attack rate of this weapon when two-handed, it's 853. But with the buffs, it gets to, as you're going to see, I'm going to showcase, you use the Golden Vow, you two-hand this bad boy, and then you use the Sacred Blade, and it goes to 1084. So it's not too bad. This is a great hammer, so it's kind of slow on the hit, but it hits nice and hard. There you go. Then you got the Sacred Blade as well, which is kind of useful, especially against mages. But the idea here is to be guarding. When you get hit, you do the L2, and it does a special attack animation that leaves a trace of holy damage on the floor, which causes a nice chunk of damage. If everything hits, it causes upwards of 1000 damage in one hit. Probably more. But talking about the rest of the build, I'm using the Earth Tree Seal to cast the Golden Vow. It's the only spell I'm using because, as I said, the focus here is to try to use the guard counters. Fire Knight Helm for a nice poise value and also increased HP, stamina and equip load. Verdigris Armor Set for the chest, Gauntlets of Solitude for the gloves, and Lionel's Greaves for the legs. This gives us, when combined with both Goat's Talisman, 116 points with the current build. The Curved Sword Talisman is a must-have because it enhances guard counters. Two-handed Sword Talisman because we are only using the hammer, so it's always two-handed. And the Great Shield Talisman so we can have a little bit of extra guarding ability. Now, as I said, this is not always going to work, but when it works, it's a fun mechanic to use. Sometimes you can get your opponents off guard. I would say this is probably more useful in invasions because in the arena people know what things do and what the plan is, kind of, if they're good. If you're fighting new players in the PvP, sure, it's going to work and you are going to see an example of that. But I would say this is probably best for invasions. As usual, I use my FT rot pots to keep things interesting and rot players in the arena. Because the solo idea of this build was to use the guard counter, I didn't exactly went for any boss fights. I didn't feel like it's appropriate for the idea here, so this is going to be a very quick build video because it's mainly focused on PvP. But as I said, this would be equally or even more effective in PvE because the enemies you fight are not really going to dodge, so every time you block and guard counter, you will always hit. Guaranteed. In any case, let's take a look at the stats. Level 151, Vigor at 60, Mind at 11, so we have enough FPs to cast the Golden Vow and use the Ash of War. Endurance at 40, Strength at 40, Dexterity 13, and Faith at 50. And that's pretty much it, guys. There's no point delaying any further. Let's go for the PvP examples. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. It helps us grow. If you're one of my regular viewers, thank you for the continuous support. But now let's go for those examples. Here, let's go for the first example. As I said, despite this mechanic being quite interesting and fun to use, and when it all goes to plan, very effective. There is a massive difficulty on making this work in the arena. We have to admit that people in the arena know what they're doing here, at least most of the time. They know what the weapons do, they know what the combos are, they know where the weaknesses and strengths are. So you might get a few times for the guard counter to work, just like I did, but don't expect it to work all the time. Sometimes the advantage here is, for example, I made it work this time, but I failed the previous one. Sometimes the advantage here is to just try to get people by surprise. That's what I would recommend. In this one, as you can see, this next example, I'm fighting someone with a shield, for example, and all they're doing at the moment is backpedaling. So if people don't attack you, it becomes even harder to actually make this thing work. But then again, Milady, for example, is a weapon that now hits twice. So you might get your second... If you do the guard counter on the first hit, you will get interrupted with the second swing from the Milady. And a lot of people were using Milady against this build, funny enough. Like this guy, for example, he was using a Milady. But here I am, still trying to make it work. He's not showing much interest on attacking, as you can see. He's just there waiting. I managed to still get it and kill him. Because, well, you know, I don't know if he was expecting that guard counter, but in any case, I got the win, and that's what matters. In this particular example, we're fighting a mage, not ideal because they don't even have a weapon, so unless he changes to an actual weapon, I'm not gonna get it to work. In any case, that's when the Sacred Blade comes in handy to finish the job. Now, for the next example, I'm fighting this guy. I think I'm gonna get this guy completely by surprise. He comes with a backhand, and I gotta say one thing is, this skill is particularly beautiful against the backhand, because they cannot spam blind spot. If they spam blind spot, the guard counter will work immediately, as you are about to see. Look, he's gonna use the blind spot. Look, wait for it. Here he comes. Blind spot. Didn't work. Do it again. I'm actually trying to invite him. He does a running attack, and there, boom. There you go. GG. Beautiful. But this is my quickest example of how strong this skill can be when used correctly. Now, the fight starts. I'm just gonna land this Sacred Blade right to the face, and then, there you go. GG. 2 hits was all that needed. Now, this guy... He used to be my friend, but I thought he was my friend, but then he decided to attack me while I buffed. And as you can see, I was not even attacking or engaging. I was kind of trying to let him know, hey, yo, it's me. But he didn't really care about it, so, okay, I had to punish him for it. GG. I guess we won't be fighting again for a long time. But, no problem. Let's go for the next round. Let's get that Golden Vow going. Get ready to do the Sacred Blade. He's using Milady. As I explained, Milady is probably the worst option we can get to make this build work. But those 2 hits, 1400 damage. But look, did you see how easy it was for him to dodge? That's the problem with this setup. It's fun to use, but it doesn't really work that well. That one Sacred Blade nearly finished him off. I was hoping he would run forward to try to counter me, but he didn't. He was playing safe because he knows he's just 1 hit away from defeat. But then I thought, why not try again and then go for the trade, maybe get the win, which worked. Now for this next one, again fighting someone with a colossal weapon, which is funny because I only get to fight 2 people using a colossal weapon. Which is a shame because this mechanic actually works quite well against colossal weapons. And as you can see, boom! 896 damage. I'm happy with that trade. Got a little bit of my feet burned with that spell. Didn't hit him there, unfortunately. But then I finished him off with the same strategy. GG. One more example going, just for the fun of it. This guy is also using a colossal weapon. which is exactly what we want. Colossus are probably the easiest ones for us to get this to work, as long as we don't get staggered, of course. But as you saw, it didn't stagger me, but I also didn't hit him, which is a problem because he just tells me that he was expecting it. But then I went with a charged R2 and I did 1000 damage for the win. One more example. This guy, again, you can tell he's a new player in the PvP scene, and you are about to be able to tell it by the way he plays. Now here I am just keeping things interesting with the pot. He's not engaging, he's just running to the corner, and then he does impaling thrusts, but that's it. That's the only thing he does. And then he runs away, he's crouching, then he tries to use a spell, but it's not really doing anything. But because he was just rolling, I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna follow him and maybe try to get it. And I did. Guard counter for the win. Now this is going to be another good example. This guy is using Godfrey's axe, but I don't know if he's got the stats to use it because look at this. I managed to get him with a rot straight away, but then he tries to use the Ash of War and nothing happened. So how does that go? So I decided to just block his jumping attack and do the guard counter, and then finished him off with the Sacred Blade for the win. But this is pretty much it, guys. It's quite a short video this time. It's just something I wanted to try for a long time. It's not exactly OP or broken or anything. It's just a fun mechanic that doesn't even always work. But I hope you guys give it a try and tell me what you think in the comments down below. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed just yet. Leave your comments in the comment section down below. And I hope, of course, I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care. And cheerio!